Welcome back, everyone, to another deep dive. This time, we're diving into something a lot of you have been asking about, quantum computing and drug discovery.
Yeah, it's a really fascinating area right now.
Oh, it is, for sure. Tons going on, so much potential.
Absolutely.
And we wanted to make sure that, you get a good overview without getting too bogged down in the technical details.
Right.
So we're going to try and keep things clear, concise.
Definitely.
And we're going to base our deep dive today on an actual competition that took place.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, the Quantum Computing for Drug Discovery Challenge,
Okay.
or QCDDC 23.
Catchy.
Catchy, right?
Yeah.
So over 70 teams from all over the world,
Wow.
universities, tech companies, all sorts of organizations came together to compete
That's
to see
amazing.
how they could use quantum computers
Okay.
to solve a key problem in drug development.
I see.
And the interesting twist here is this all happened within the limitations of what we call the NISQ era.
NISQ.
NISQ.
Yeah.
It stands for Noisy Intermediate Scale Quantum,
Oh, okay.
which basically means the quantum computers we have today are still kind of in their early stages.
I see.
They have a ton of potential,
Right.
but they're also prone to errors,
Yeah.
and they have limited capabilities.
Got it.
So it's like trying to run a marathon with a brand new pair of shoes that are still a bit too tight.
Right.
You might trip up a few times, you might not reach your full speed, but you can still make some progress.
Yeah.
So to break this all down and tell us why this all matters,
Sure.
I'd like to introduce our expert for this deep dive.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me.
Now, maybe we could start by explaining what this QCDD 23 challenge was all about. What were these teams actually trying to do?
Sure. So the goal of the challenge was to use quantum computers to estimate the ground state energy of a molecule.
Oh.
Specifically a molecule called OH+.
OH plus.
Yeah, it's a pretty simple molecule, actually,
Okay.
but it plays a really important role in lots of different biological processes.
So it's kind of like a testing ground?
Exactly. It's a
Yeah.
good benchmark.
Yeah.
And it's small enough that current quantum computers can handle it.
I see. So why is this ground state energy so important? What does it actually tell us?
So the ground state energy is basically the lowest energy level that a molecule can have,
Right.
and it's a fundamental property that influences how the molecule interacts with other molecules,
Okay.
like in drug interactions.
I see.
So if we can accurately calculate this energy,
Yeah.
we can better understand how drugs will behave in the body.
So this is directly related to drug development.
Absolutely.
Wow.
And it's not just theoretical.
Uh-huh.
OH plus is actually linked to a whole range of health issues.
Like what kind of issues?
Well, things like neurodegenerative disorders,
Oh, wow.
cardiovascular diseases, even cancer.
So this is some serious stuff.
It is, yeah.
Yeah, so if we can crack this ground state energy puzzle,
Right.
it could have a huge impact on developing new treatments.
Exactly.
Wow. And you said over 70 teams participated.
Yeah, it was a really competitive field.
Wow. That's impressive.
It really shows the growing interest in this area.
Yeah, sounds like it. Now, you mentioned this whole NISQ thing earlier.
Yeah, the noisy era of quantum computing.
Right.
Yeah.
So how did that actually play out in the competition? I mean, did it make things harder for the teams?
Oh, absolutely.
Really?
Yeah, so in the NISQ era, you're dealing with these quantum computers that are still very sensitive to noise.
Okay.
And they have a limited number of
Qubits.
qubits. Yeah, those are like the building blocks of quantum information.
Okay.
So it's like trying to solve a complex puzzle with a limited set of tools, and those tools aren't always working perfectly.
I see.
So the teams had to be really creative in designing their algorithms.
Wow. So it wasn't just about coming up with the right answer.
Not at all.
It was about figuring out how to get that answer with these kind of finicky quantum computers.
Exactly. They had to work within the constraints.
Yeah, like coding with one hand tied behind your back or something.
Kind of, yeah. It was a real challenge.
So how did they do it? I mean, how did they even begin to get reliable results with these limitations?
Well, that's where the really interesting part comes in. The teams had to find ways to combine the power of quantum computers with more traditional computing methods and machine learning.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's kind of like a tag team
Uh-huh.
where each player brings their own strengths to the table.
So they're not trying to replace classical computing entirely.
No, it's more about finding the right balance,
Okay.
using each type of computing where it's most effective.
I see. So it's not an either-or situation.
Right, exactly.
It's about finding the right synergy.
Exactly.
Interesting. So how does this tag team approach actually work? How do they combine quantum and classical computing?
Well, think of it like a relay race.
Okay.
The classical computer starts off
Uh-huh.
handling all the tasks that it's good at, like processing data,
Okay.
run simulations.
Yeah.
And then when it hits a problem that requires that quantum advantage,
Right.
it passes the baton to the quantum computer.
Like,
The quantum computer takes over,
okay.
explores those quantum possibilities,
Right.
and then passes the results back to the classical computer.
To finish the race.
Exactly. It's a team effort.
I like that analogy.
Yeah.
So where does machine learning fit into all this?
Oh, machine learning is crucial here.
Okay. How so?
Well, it plays several roles.
Yeah.
First, it can help us design more efficient quantum circuits,
Okay.
which are basically the sets of instructions that tell the quantum computer what to do.
Uh-huh. So like optimizing the baton passing in our relay race.
Exactly, you got it.
That's cool. And what else can machine learning do?
Well, it can also help us mitigate the noise.
Right. Yeah.
You mentioned that before.
Yeah, the errors
Yeah.
that are inherent in these early quantum computers.
Oh, okay, so it's kind of like giving our relay runners noise-canceling headphones.
That's a great analogy.
Help them focus.
Exactly.
So machine learning is really helping to improve the performance of these quantum computers.
Absolutely. It's essential. Yeah. It sounds like, okay, so we've talked about the challenges. We've talked about this kind of hybrid approach.
Yeah,
But I'm really curious to know how the winning teams actually put all of this into practice.
right.
What specific strategies did they use to overcome those NISQ limitations?
Well, each team had its own unique approach,
Okay.
but there were some common themes.
Yeah, like what?
For example, the team that took home the gold MIT EPQC CMU Duke,
Okay.
they used something called quantum NAS supercircuit.
Quantum NAS supercircuit.
Yeah, it's a mouthful.
It is.
But basically what it does is it helps find the most efficient quantum circuits for a given problem.
I see. So it's kind of like a search engine for quantum circuits.
That's a good way to think about it, yeah.
Cool. And what else did they do?
They also developed a technique called resilient-Q.
Resilient Q.
Yeah, and this is all about training the quantum algorithm to be robust to noise.
Okay.
So imagine you're training an athlete, not in perfect conditions,
Yeah.
but in like a wind tunnel or on a bumpy track.
Okay.
Resilient-Q does something similar.
So they're basically preparing the algorithm for the real world.
Exactly, making it more resilient.
That's clever. And did they do anything else?
Yeah, they also use a technique called gate pruning.
Gate pruning.
Yeah, it's basically about simplifying the quantum circuit,
Okay.
removing any unnecessary gates.
Gates.
Yeah, those are the basic operations in a quantum circuit. So
Sure.
it's like decluttering your code,
Uh-huh.
making it more concise.
And less prone to errors.
Exactly. You got it.
Wow, they really thought of everything.
They did a great job.
So they had this super efficient circuit.
Right.
They trained it to be noise resistant.
Yeah.
What else did they do to kind of improve their accuracy?
Well, they also incorporated a whole suite of error mitigation techniques.
Error mitigation techniques.
Yeah, these are methods for reducing the impact of noise on the quantum computation.
Okay, so like a noise filter?
Kind of, yeah.
So they really covered all their bases.
They did. They had a very comprehensive approach.
That's impressive. What about the other top teams? Did they have similar strategies?
Well, each team had its own unique approach,
Okay.
but there were definitely some common themes.
Uh-huh.
For example, Team TQL, who came in second,
Okay.
they focused a lot on the structure of their quantum circuit.
The structure.
Yeah, the way the quantum operations were arranged.
Okay, so like the architecture of the circuit.
Exactly. And they used a clever arrangement of these basic quantum operations called CNOT gates.
CNOT gates.
Yeah, to shorten the overall runtime
Okay.
and minimize errors.
So they were all about speed and efficiency.
That's right.
Interesting. Did they use any error mitigation techniques?
Oh, yeah, they did. They used something called reference state error mitigation.
Reference state error mitigation.
Yeah, it's a bit technical,
Okay.
but basically it helps improve the accuracy of the results by comparing them to a known reference state.
I see. So they had a benchmark to compare against.
Exactly.
That's cool.
Yeah.
And what about the team that came in third?
The bronze medalist team, Quantum Loop.
Quantum Loop.
Okay. They had a very interesting approach.
What did they do?
Well, they used an algorithm called QASC,
QASC.
which stands for Quantum Architecture, Search for Chemistry.
Okay. Another mouthful.
Yeah, it is.
So what does this QASC do?
Well, it basically searches for the best quantum circuit for a given chemistry problem.
So it's kind of like an automated architect.
Exactly. It takes the guesswork out of designing the circuit.
Wow. So it's like a self-driving car for quantum circuits.
You could say that, yeah.
So All three teams had really innovative strategies.
They did. They're all very impressive.
Yeah, and it sounds like they all relied heavily on machine learning.
Absolutely. Machine learning is becoming increasingly integral to quantum computing.
It's like the glue that holds everything together.
That's a good analogy, yeah.
So what does this tell us about the future of quantum computing in drug discovery?
Well, I think it shows that we're making real progress.
Uh-huh.
We're starting to see the potential of this technology to solve real-world problems.
So it's not just hype anymore.
No, it's becoming a reality.
And it sounds like machine learning is going to play a even bigger role going forward.
Oh, absolutely. As quantum computers become more powerful,
Right.
we'll need even more sophisticated machine learning techniques.
To harness that power.
Exactly.
Wow. So this is just the beginning.
It is. We're still in the early stages.
But it sounds like there's a lot to be excited about.
Oh, there is. There's a lot of potential here.
So for our listeners who are maybe feeling a little bit overwhelmed by all this,
Sure.
what's the one key takeaway you want them to remember?
I would say the key takeaway is that quantum computing is not just science fiction anymore.
Right.
It's a real technology with the potential to revolutionize many industries,
Including drug discovery.
especially drug discovery.
So we should all be paying attention.
Absolutely. It's an exciting time to be following this field.
All right, so we've talked about the challenges, the innovations, the potential.
Yeah.
But I'm curious, what surprised you most about how these teams approached the challenge?
Honestly, I was just blown away by the creativity
Oh, yeah.
and resourcefulness of these teams. They
Uh-huh.
really push the boundaries of what's possible with current quantum computing technology.
It's like they were playing a game with a whole new set of rules.
That's a good way to put it, yeah.
So what are you most excited about in the future of quantum computing? What are the big milestones you're looking forward to?
Well, one of the most exciting developments on the horizon is the development of fault-tolerant quantum computers.
Fault tolerant.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
So as we've discussed, noise is a major challenge in the NISQ era,
Right.
but fault-tolerant quantum computers would be much more robust to errors.
Okay.
They'd be able to detect and correct those errors.
So it's like having a quantum computer with a built-in spell checker.
That's a great analogy.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So once we have these fault-tolerant quantum computers, what will that mean for drug discovery?
Oh, it will be a game changer.
Really?
Yeah. We'll be able to tackle problems that are simply impossible for even the most powerful classical computers today.
Wow. So fault tolerance is kind of like the holy grail of quantum computing.
It's definitely one of the most important milestones we're striving for.
But achieving fault tolerance is just one piece of the puzzle, right?
Right.
What else do we need to really unlock the power of quantum computing?
Well, we also need to continue developing more efficient and powerful quantum algorithms.
Algorithms.
Yeah, those are the sets of instructions that tell the quantum computer what to do.
Huh.
We need algorithms that are specifically designed to take advantage of the unique capabilities of quantum computers.
I see. And we also need better software tools, right?
Absolutely. We need tools that make it easier for researchers and developers to program and use quantum computers.
So it's not just about the hardware.
No, it's about the whole ecosystem.
The software, the algorithms, the people.
Exactly.
And speaking of people, we also need to make sure that we're training the next generation of quantum experts
Right. We need to invest in education and workforce development.
to make sure that we have the talent to drive this field forward.
Absolutely. It's a crucial part of the equation.
It's a multifaceted challenge, but it sounds like we're making progress on all fronts.
We are, and it's really exciting to see.
It's like all the pieces are starting to fall into place.
Yeah, the momentum is building.
Well, I think that's a great place to end part 2 of our deep dive.
Yeah,
We've covered a lot of ground,
we have.
from the challenges of NISQ to the potential of fault-tolerant quantum computers.
It's been a great discussion.
But we're not done yet.
No?
In part 3, we'll delve even deeper into the specifics of those winning strategies.
I'm looking forward to it.
From QCD-DC23,
Yeah, me too.
we'll uncover the secrets behind their success.
It's going to be fascinating.
So stay tuned. Okay, so let's jump back into those winning strategies. I'm ready for the juicy details. What made these teams stand out?
Well, you know, the team that took home the gold MIT EPQC CMU Duke.
Yeah, the one with the super long name?
Exactly. They had a very systematic approach to the problem. They used that quantum NAS super circuit, right, to find the most efficient quantum circuit. But they didn't stop there.
Okay.
They realized that even with a great circuit design, training it directly on a noisy quantum computer
Yeah.
could lead to problems.
So it's like practicing for a big game in a perfect environment,
Right.
And then suddenly on game day, it's pouring rain and the field is muddy.
Exactly. The performance might suffer.
Right. So
Yeah.
how do they get around that?
Well, they developed this technique called resilient Q,
Resilient Q.
which is all about training the algorithm to be robust to noise.
I see.
So they basically used a classical computer
Uh-huh.
to simulate the noise of a quantum computer,
Oh, wow.
and then they trained their algorithm in that simulated noisy environment.
So it's like giving them a taste of the chaos
Exactly, so that they're prepared for anything.
so that they can perform under pressure.
Precisely.
Wow, that's clever.
Yeah.
And what about gate pruning? They did that too, right?
Oh yeah, gate pruning is essential. It's all about simplifying the quantum circuit.
Okay. By removing any unnecessary operations.
So like decluttering,
Yeah, yes.
making it more streamlined.
I'm less prone to errors.
So they're kind of like minimalist coders for quantum computers.
You could say that.
Yeah, interesting. And on top of all that, they used a bunch of error mitigation techniques too, right?
They did. They weren't taking any chances.
Wow. So they had this super efficient circuit.
Right.
They trained it to be noise resistant.
Yeah.
And they had all these error mitigation techniques in place.
It was a very thorough approach.
No wonder they won.
They definitely earned it.
What about Team TQL? They came in second, right?
Yeah, they had a slightly different focus.
Okay.
They really emphasized the importance of smart circuit design.
I see.
Remember the ansats?
Yeah, the blueprint for the quantum calculation.
Exactly. They spent a lot of time optimizing the structure of their ansats.
So they were kind of like the architects of the quantum world.
That's a good way to put it.
Cool. And how did that help them? Well, it allowed them to arrange these basic quantum operations called CNOT gates
Uh-huh.
in a way that shortened the overall runtime
Okay.
and minimized errors.
So they were all about speed and efficiency.
Precisely. And they also used a technique called polygrouping.
Polygrouping.
Yeah, it's a way of maximizing the information you get from each experiment on the quantum computer.
So less is more.
You got it.
And of course, they use error mitigation techniques too, right?
Oh yeah, they incorporated reference state error mitigation to further improve their accuracy.
It sounds like all these teams were really pushing the limits of what's possible.
They really were. It was inspiring to see.
And they all relied heavily on machine learning too, right?
Oh, absolutely. Machine learning is becoming indispensable in this field.
It's like the conductor of the quantum orchestra,
I like that.
bringing all the different elements together.
It's a beautiful analogy.
So what does all of this tell us about the future of quantum computing in drug discovery?
Well, I think it's a clear sign that this field is moving from theory to practice.
Okay. We're starting to see real-world applications emerge.
So quantum computing is not just a pipe dream anymore.
No, it's becoming a tangible tool for solving real problems.
And it has the potential to completely transform the way we develop drugs.
Absolutely. It could lead to faster development times, more targeted therapies, and maybe even cures for diseases that are currently considered incurable.
Wow, that's incredible.
It is. There's so much potential here.
It's mind-blowing to think about.
It is. It's a really exciting time to be involved in this field.
I think that's a perfect note to wrap up our deep dive.
Yeah, I agree.
We've covered a lot of ground today. We explored the challenges of the NISQ era,
Right.
the innovative strategies of the QCDDC 23 winners, and the incredible potential of quantum computing for drug discovery.
It's been a fascinating journey.
It really has. So to our listeners, thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the quantum world.
Yeah, thanks for listening, everyone.
We hope you've learned something new.
And maybe even feel inspired to explore this field further. Who knows? Maybe one of you listening will make the next big breakthrough in quantum computing.
That would be amazing.
Until next time, keep diving deep.